Good morning. I think. I've got an error showing up over here. I think it's morning. It's Tuesday, October 31st, 2023. My name is Terry Morgan and we're here to practice. I'm going to talk a little bit slowly for just a second while I wait and see if this error is going to clear up. Hopefully, next few seconds it will. And that is, in a way, something that I wanted to talk about this morning. Okay, so now it says no data. Give it a minute. Because if I'm talking and it's not receiving, hey, now we're back. Now I have excellent connection. Let me start that again. Good morning. It's Tuesday, October 31st, 2023. My name is Terry Morgan and we are here to practice. Practice what, you may ask? All of the things that are part of our own practice. And that, for me, is a lot. This morning I'm going to focus a little bit on Tai Chi and some of the things that I learned early on in my very first Tai Chi studies, as well as a few things from dance, and a little bit of that internal workmanship of what we're paying attention to inside. Put this down, we'll talk about that. When I very first started learning, way back, really very first, I had no idea what Tai Chi was. I had gone to this one class that a student of one of Chen Manqing's students was teaching, and it was okay. It was not what I ended up learning. I took a few classes, and at the time I was also just getting started in college, late start in college. And I had to juggle work and college and home and kids how am I going to do this? So I ended up dropping out of that class, and I picked it up about 5 years later from a completely different teacher. Learned some lessons from him. Not so much Tai Chi, but I learned some lessons from him. And I was introduced to the world of martial arts as it was back in the early 1980s in the U.S. Different than it is now, and different than what I experienced in China. And I did compete in China, actually, and once, and took first place, actually. I'm proud of that. There's a certificate down here for that. Alright, so that experience, and how did I get there? What did I go through? What were my foundations? Is my theme for this. What were my foundations that took me from swimming and playing sports mostly when I was a kid to dance later on in college, to Tai Chi and martial arts, and that continuing study? What part of the thread is my interest in physical activity. I want to do something. I want to get up and move around. Okay. Let me get up and do something. All right, what am I going to do? Go to the gym? I tried that. I did. Didn't work for me. I had to go somewhere, and I had to pay money in order to do that. I couldn't continue doing it without having to continue to pay money. Now, going to class and paying money is different than practicing. I could practice on my own, and if I was broke, it was okay because I knew what to practice. Yeah, maybe I had to skip class, but at least I could practice. If I was going to the gym and using the equipment, either I had to buy my own equipment or I had to keep paying the gym. What do I do? And what about that equipment? One of the things that I decided, this is my decisions early on, what do I need in order to practice my art? What art am I going to practice? And what do I need to be able to practice it? Swimming, I need a pool. Dad took me to the pool when I was a kid. I learned how to swim real early. Swimming and diving was one of his things. He liked it a lot. Right? So we went to the pool. You can swim in the ocean, you can swim in a lake, you can swim in a pool, but you have to have one. No pool. Alright? Well, next. What are I'm going to skip ahead quite a bit here. What are the kinds of things that you want to do that you will sustain, that you keep doing over and over again, that require only you to decide you're going to do them? For me to be here, I need the internet, I need a couple of computers, I need to know how to hook them up. And for the present at least, my connection looks good, everything's working this morning. It wasn't, but then it was, so hey, magic. That equipment could be better. It could be a lot better. I mean, having any equipment is required. There has to be something, right? Way back when, I wanted to be able to do something, to do some practice, some exercise that did not require anything. I don't have to have a pool, I don't have to have weights, I don't have to have a gym, I don't have to go to class, I don't have to be in a Rumba room, right? I don't have to have an aerobics class. There's nothing that I have to have other than myself. Tai Chi. It's like dance, and I'm too old for dance now, right? I was in my 20s. I was already in my 20s. Too old for dance. Tai Chi, nice soft movement. And in the foundations that I learned for Tai Chi, that essential quiet, so that each movement is full, sustained, regular, complete, and that you know what you're doing, that you feel it, right? It's just the only way to do it. You have to feel it. And it's not the kind of, later on I'm going to feel this, although that can happen too. It's right now, what is it that I feel? Is my body in correct alignment? Do I feel the muscles and tendons holding as they need to hold? That was something that I learned from dance. What needs to hold? Right here. needs to hold in order for me to stand here? Because I may be here for a minute or two. What needs to hold? What can relax? What needs to extend? How to complete that extension without introducing tension through the shoulders. It does not need to be there, because there does need to be some, without introducing tension through the hips. That does not need to be there. Right? Yeah, I could stay here for another couple of minutes, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna put my arms down. All right, and that release. What does it take to do that? What do you need to pay attention to in order for that movement to happen in that way? With the idea that as the arms, everything is relaxed and comfortable, and only those muscles that must work are working. They're working to the minimum effort possible. So least effort, so that the muscle can be smooth against the bone, that the tendons and ligaments can extend and wrap around the bone in the natural way that that's the way the body's built, right? Knowing that, what do I need? Well, there we are. That's why I was looking over here. Anatomy. All right? If you don't know your fundamental, this is, what am I looking at? I'm looking at the back of the leg here. All right? This is the back of the leg. That's what your leg looks like. It's detailed. All right? That level of understanding, and it doesn't have to be that particular anatomy book. That's Gray's Anatomy. That's the original Gray's Anatomy. It could be any anatomy book that gives you that ability to see and literally visualize what your arm looks like, what your leg looks like, what your torso and your back look like, so that as you're looking for those muscles, you can find them. Now, Miss Tanya said, ballet class, Titania Bukodowska, Ballet Rusta Monte Carlo. Got this eye? She was in her early 60s and she was still teaching. She could take her leg to 90 degrees, stay there, do 3 turns, and come down. She could stand, nice fifth position, plie, jump, spin, and drop into the same position perfectly. I could never do that. It just didn't work for me. Her skill and her understanding of what her body could do came from years of training. She practiced. Right? I changed what I was doing from dance to Tai Chi and traditional Chinese internal martial arts many years ago. So my standing in a nice fifth position or third position, jumping straight up in the air and dropping back down in the same position is never going to happen. It's not. I may be able to do a couple other things, but not that. How do I know that? I know what my body will do. I know what I'm going to practice. If I'm not going to practice that, it's not going to happen. That part of understanding what I'm going to do, and it's not me, it's you. What am I going to do? Do I want that? How do I get that? Whatever that is, do I want it? Am I going to go get it? Do I want to be able to stand in a nice perfect fifth, jump straight up in the air and drop down? No. Well, alright. When we recognize that, we're not limiting ourselves. We're changing what we're going to work toward. So I knew way back when that my jumps were never going to be great. They weren't. I was pretty good at slow movement. There are lots of exercises. You learn what you're good at. You do. And I can see that in my students as well. So if you were standing in front of me and you're doing something, I can tell you what you like. Okay. That understanding. This is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is what I'm going to work for, this is not something I'm going to work for. That understanding gives us that path that we can do something. If I had not come to that recognition, I would never have been an international Tai Chi champion. Would not have happened. But I decided that's what I wanted to work toward. I just recognized that I could, that my skills, I had pretty good low work at the time. I liked moving slowly, so the leg row not so much, but the adagio, yeah. And I wanted more. I wanted something that I would be able to do for my whole life. Tai Chi offered that. Everything that I was reading about Tai Chi said it's great for old people, it's good for young people, it's good for health, you can do this, you can do that. It's a nice movement, you can practice it over here, you can practice it that. No equipment necessary. I just have to learn the form. And then I discovered there was so much more to Tai Chi practice than the few movements. That understanding, partly from my study of dance, which I applied to everything I did and still do in all of my movement, and the recognition and teaching that there was so much more to Tai Chi than a dance-like movement. Effective martial art, moving meditation, skill development, all sorts of things. I'm going to slow down as I just got an error, and as I wait for that error to clear, alright, it looks like it's cleared now. So during that error, I didn't say anything, I just kind of fumbled through that, so you didn't miss anything. That foundation, I'm going to go back to that foundation again, from dance and early Tai Chi practice, gave me the foundation that I brought to my Tai Chi practice. Let's start with this. I'm getting a little bit of an error over here. This one's fine. It may take a minute over here. Let's do our basic stretch and pay close attention. We're not going to go real slow, but we are going to go slow. Pay attention to what has to happen in each of the major segments of your body as we do this stretch. So, your feet, the lower leg, your ankle, your knee, upper leg, hip, waist, ribs, shoulders, arms, neck, spine, your head, right? Pay attention to what's happening through all of those body parts as we move. Each area, little by little, pay attention. And again, I'm not going to go real slow, but we are going to go a little bit slow. Feet about shoulder width apart. Pull up straight. Pull in through the center. Pull up through the back. Close the hips. So squeeze in the back and pull up. Connect the bai hui and the hui yin. So both connect, pull together, hands circle to the front, back around to both sides, up along center line, and stretch out. Pay attention to each of those body parts as you're extending. Feet, ankles, lower legs, knees, upper leg, hip, waist, ribs, shoulders, arms, hands, and again, hands, forearms, shoulder, upper body, waist, hips, through the back of the leg, knees and feet, and roll through again. One more time. Follow that circle. Elbows drop down, wrists, fingertips, hands return to your sides. All right, we're going to do this one more time. I'm going to go a little bit more slowly and pay attention to that body part litany, where your focus should be as you're moving through. Feet about shoulder width apart, stand straight, pull up through the crown of the head, connect the hui yin and the bai hui, pull up and connect, center, hands circle to the front, not too fast, not too slow. Hands, forearms, shoulders, upper back, waist, hips, back of the leg, lower part of the leg, foot, heel, and extend, reach out, extend through the back, extend through the arms, pull up through the leg, toes, ankles, lower leg, knee, upper leg, hips, waist, ribs, fingertips, shoulders, upper arm, forearm, fingertips, reach out one more time. Quietly pay attention to that litany. Each body part as you move. Fingertips reach up. Elbows drop down. Wrists. Hands return to your sides. That attention, that focus. What am I moving? What's it doing? What do I need to do to maintain this movement? What do I need to do? Where do I need to hold? Right here, I need to hold through my shoulders. Right here, pull down, open. That's all I have to do. I don't have to do some fancy thing out here. I don't. And that fine movement it's ready. That fine movement is what we want to cultivate, because as we are able to quiet the movement, not tension, not more muscle, more quiet, and more aligned with the natural way that our body is designed, the easier it is to circulate the breath, to circulate the chi, to circulate the inner energy, Jing, Tai Chi, Fa Jing, right? That idea that we want to first quiet the body, and I talked about this a lot yesterday, quiet the mind, as we begin to practice that foundation, being quiet. If, yeah, I'm going to do this. I was thinking which movement I'm going to do, and I'm going to be a little noisy movement here, right? Imagine that I had a bag right there, I could hit it, right? That movement, why would I call that noisy? Besides that there'd be a bag going thunk, 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 right? Why is that noisy? Let me do it again, quietly. What's the difference? What's the difference? First time, lots of tension. Yeah, we're gonna do this. Yeah. And you should be able to see it. Even on a video, you should be able to see it. I put a lot of tension in that movement. Second time, relaxed. Let me direct what I'm going to do through my whole body and do it in a complete and relaxed manner. I can keep going much longer with that second set than I can with the first one. Even if I train. Either I try to train one or the other, right? I train the first one, I'll be able to keep going longer. I train the second one, I will always be able to keep going on longer than I would be able to with the first one. There's no tension. I'm not using muscle tension. Using muscle, there's force, and you would have seen the bag going. But it's not that external force that comes from holding tension in my body. That type of force, lots of folks practice. I practiced a little bit. I studied a little Shaolin, so I practiced a little bit. Yeah, not my thing. It wasn't something that I liked. Fundamentally, I didn't like it. Not that it was, there's nothing bad. It's great forms. I enjoyed learning. But at the end of the day, when it came to practice, I didn't really like it. I like the internal stuff. I've learned a couple other things from different teachers as well, and it just didn't work for me. That's my point. That is exactly my point. What works for me may well work for you. I'm hoping it will. That's part of why I'm teaching. But it's not necessary. what you like and what I like doesn't have to be the same. I've got a lot of variety of things, some I like more than others, and that's one of the things that has kept me going. The foundation, understanding what I'm looking for in practice. Movement art, as well as that internal connection, that internal workmanship, that something more. And combining that with what I like to do. Santi Bo, Xingyi. Back foot. Angle to the floor is about 45 degrees. The foot is, angle to the floor is 65 degrees. The angle of the foot to the outside is 45. This is a straight line. Front foot more or less on that line. I got my left foot in front, left hand in front. This should be about 110 degrees. So 90, pull it back, push down through the heel. Right hand in front of the lower Tantian, left hand in front of the middle Tantian. Set, stay there. Santi Bo. Pull up through the Huiyin. Connect with the Bai Hui at the crown of the head. Open the hips. Pull the hips up, open the leg. Use the back of the leg, not the front of the leg, to hold your weight. Pull up through the torso, support your weight with your back. Push to the front. Pull up and sink. Stay there. Don't move. Yeah, I'm not moving. Stay there. Breathe. Pull up through the back, down through the front. Focus on the 3 gates and the 3 centers. Stay there. Don't move. Alright, relax. That's not as easy to do as it looks. It's not. And that's my point. I worked at that. I did. And my ability to do something, whatever I do, I worked at it. Why did I do that? I liked it. It was fun. I started, again, Yang style Tai Chi. I learned something. I don't know. And then I really started learning from someone who knew what they were doing. Gentleman's name was Huang Wei Lun. Yang style Tai Chi. I learned so much of what I still have today as foundations from what he taught. Now, it's not that I haven't learned more, but that starting point, paying attention to all the fine details, moving slowly, practicing and practicing again, and trying to match the way in which I moved to the way in which he moved. Because that was the key. It wasn't doing the movement. It's the way the movement is done. That's Bruce Lee's finger pointing to the moon. The way the movement is done. What's the difference? Right? We're going to do this. I'll walk side to side. Feet about shoulder width apart. Sink left. Turn the right toes to 45. Shift to the right foot. All weight on the right. Pick up the left. Put the left down in front. Shift forward. Change the weight. I'm going to do this over here. Feet about shoulder width apart. Shift left, bend the knee, turn the right toes. Shift onto the right foot, all the weight on the right foot. Pick up the left. Put the left down in front. Put the heel down first. Push through. Don't go past the toes. So, don't want to be out here. This is good. Back here. Yeah, back here. Okay. Alright, both knees are bent. Yeah. That's what you do. Feet about shoulder width apart. Shift left. Open right. That's how you do it. Feet about shoulder width apart. Shift left. Open right. No, my front leg is not at 90 degrees. It's not parallel to the floor. No, this, and you can pick at all you want. The way in which we move. First time, I did the same movement. I did the same movement both times. Doesn't look the same. Doesn't feel the same either. And that was part of my point earlier on. Feet about shoulder width apart. Stand straight. Pull up through the back. Pull up through the back. I'm not using my hands right now. Okay, so they just stay there. All right? Pull up through the back. Pull up through the center. Shift left. What has to happen? Slowly. And sink. Right? Slowly. Keep going. Where does your hip need to extend so that you can keep going? Because you can't push into your knee. Use the back of the leg, not the front of the leg. Hip has to go behind the heel. Turn the right toes. Don't collapse the left knee. Keep it open. Shift onto the right leg. Here we still going. Center. Where's your weight? Release the left. Pull up. Keep pulling up. Hold. Hold. I haven't done this in a while. Hold. And there we go. A little fast at the end there. Put it down. Nice and easy. And push through. Extend through the back. Straighten. Okay. So, about halfway through, you saw me, as I picked up my foot, I picked it up a little quicker, more quickly than I was doing the other movements. And as I brought my foot around in the front, I moved it around in a circle a little more quickly than I was doing the other movements. balance. My leg wasn't holding. I need to move this. This needs to shift. That issue, okay, it's a mistake. It's not a, it's a how I'm moving mistake, not a what I'm doing mistake, right? That's the point. If I've started out, and this is a lot for a lot of movements that we practice in Qigong and Yang style Tai Chi in particular, I have a similar, it's not the same exactly for Wudang style Tai Chi, but there are a lot of similarities in being able to understand what the underlying movement is. What am I doing? What did I just do? I dropped my shoulders and I pulled up through the back as if I was getting ready to sink onto my right leg, right? If I don't pull up and in as I get ready to settle down, I don't have the strength, physical strength, right? I don't have the strength to support all of my weight on one leg. Through one leg, yes. On one leg, not so much. Through the leg and extend. And that ending was a little too quick. It was. How do I know that? Because I did it. I was paying attention to how it feels. How's it feel? Yeah, no, that wasn't quite. That was. What did I change? My breathing, my focus, and I paid much more attention to my center of gravity so that as I settled, I was already in good balance to be able to move. And not lose balance as I'm moving, right? That discussion I had before about Miss Tanya being able to jump straight up and come back down, take her leg to 90 and do the turns and stop. Yeah, she could. That skill, it's right here. Same as what we just did. The movement is different. The way in which the movement is done is different. The skill to center yourself and balance through that center as you're moving around it is the same. Once we develop these foundations, I understand my physiology, I understand my breath, I understand how this movement works, the body mechanics for this movement. I understand how this movement connects with the breath. I understand how this movement might be used in a martial context because we are practicing martial art, right? Even our Qigong has their different way of paying attention to applications, but they're there. That sense of an underlying meaning, whether it's through traditional Chinese medicine and the internal circulation that we have, or whether it's through martial arts and understanding what this might be doing, or this application, push, what might I be doing with that? Brush knee. This is brush knee. I just moved your leg, opened this up, you went that way. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But that's the idea. Alright, knowing that, I know where to step, I know how to step, I know what I'm doing behind the movement. It's not an empty movement. There's something more. In ballet, it's the story. Every movement tells a story. It tells a story about the character in the ballet. It tells a story about the dancer that's portraying that character. In martial arts, the same thing holds true. It's a different story. But if what was that? I don't know. What's that? It's not brush knee. Right? It's brush knee. That's brush knee. That's brush knee. No, that wasn't brush knee. There are other variations of brush knee. What are we paying attention to? What should we look for? What are the components of the movement? This up here doesn't belong in that movement. It might belong in a different movement, but not that one. And the way that I did it, no. What do we look for? Root, being grounded, whole body movement, that connection between each and every body part through each and every movement. So it's whole, it's complete. Not pulling back, not overextending, everything well placed and well centered. Development of that connection with the breath, with how we move, so that there's a quality of movement that is part of the art that we're practicing. Tai Chi is not Xing Yi, Xing Yi is not Tai Chi, Tai Chi is not Bagua, Bagua, and vice, all, Shaolin is not any of them. Quality of movement for the art that we're practicing comes through. Being able to do that is where you find what you like and what you don't like. If you don't like the movement, bringing your personality to that movement and doing that movement in the way it should be done, no, I don't want to do that. I tried judo. I don't want to do that. Tried aikido. Don't want to do that either. I tried tai chi. I like that. Right? What do you like? What are you going to do in your own practice that will keep you going? Because, go back to this idea, if you don't like it, you won't do it. You have to like it, whatever it is. That's what will keep you going. Finding what that is. For me, I was pursuing studies, and luck, fate, Yangfen, means fate in Chinese, whatever you want to call it, I ended up in Zhengzhou in January in 1990, 91 at People's Park and met Professor Wudang, who was teaching Xing class. I knew what it was. I stopped to watch. We had an interpreter. He asked if I wanted to learn something. I said, well, I studied Tai Chi. I had some experience with Yang style Tai Chi. Oh, we have Tai Chi. You want to see? He had someone show me a little bit. I said, yeah, I'll learn that. That was cool. It was a cool form. Wudang Tai Chi, I still teach that. Right? And there's recordings out here with that. That beginning, I was in Zhengzhou. It was, I forgot, -7, I think, something like that. It's not, it was cold. Snow. And it was 5 o'clock in the morning when we got up to go to the park to be there before 6, because they start taking tickets at 6 and we wanted to get in free. I still had tickets. So that effort, that experience, I wanted to learn. It wasn't just, I wanted to learn. That was part of my own training, part of my experience, part of what I bring to my own practice. Now, chikum can eat bitter. What do you go through? What are you willing to do? What are you willing to do for your practice? What are you willing to do to develop your skills? Practice 3 days a week? Travel halfway around the world? What are you willing to do? What do you want to gain from what you're doing? I wanted the language, the culture, a different worldview. I wanted to understand the art. I wanted to pursue that knowledge that would let me have a better understanding, always imperfect, but better, of the art that I wanted to practice. And I got a bonus. I got Qigong and sword and Bagua and Shaolin and I got so much, man, and Xingyi. I got so much more. I spent close to 30 years studying to do that. We just had one teacher. And then the time before that. So as you look at what you're doing, what you're practicing, what your foundations are, what do you have? Are you starting? Right? When you're starting out, I don't have so much. This is what I'm looking for. You have that. You always have that. This is, I want to go this way. Not quite sure, but I want to go this way. And you get a few steps further along, and you look at, well, I like this, and I like this, and but I really like this. So I'm going to look at this. It's not that you forget about these other things, it's that this is what I'm going to focus on. It's not these other things don't have value, it's my choice. This is what I want to pay attention to. These other things, some of them I need to practice anyway just because, right? I'm not a Sanda practitioner, right? Okay. I'm not fire. Now, I'm tight, I can push hands, yeah. No, not here. Doesn't mean I don't know a little bit how to do a few things, right? That connection, twist, here we go. That is something that I learned. It's not something that I wanted to practice year after year after year. I did practice it for several years. That's why I can do it. Cumulative practice, right? I'm going to pay attention to this right now, and I'm not paying attention, and I'm paying attention to this over here now. I don't pay attention to this. Started out practicing Tai Chi, paying attention to Tai Chi practice, the principles for Tai Chi. I moved on, more Tai Chi. And then Bagua. Oh, Bagua is different. I like Bagua. It was fun. Still is. Not something I want to practice wholeheartedly like I do Tai Chi, but I like it. Xingyi. I didn't like it at first. I didn't. It grew on me. The simplicity and the level of concentration to do one movement. I liked. That extended to sword and qigong and all sorts of other things that built all of the skills that I now can draw on. So, practice Tai Chi, and I spent a few years on Xingyi, I spent a few years on Bagua, I spent a few years on sword. I spent some more time on Qigong, and Qigong was prevalent throughout all of that. As each came in turn, as I went through each cycle of practice, this one I'm going to do a little more physical practice, this one I want to do a little more internal practice, this one I need to do a little more mental, physical connection, or this one I need to do more calming kinds of things, right? Each time I went through a cycle of things that I needed to practice. It wasn't somebody else telling me, it was me going, well, that's uncomfortable, let me fix that. What do I need to do? If it's something emotional, that needs to be corrected equally with something that's physical and out of alignment. The emotional body needs to be in good alignment too. How to work with all of that is part of the development that we go through as we're practicing. And I'm going to close with that idea that finger pointing to the moon, what we're doing isn't so much the point as how we do it. How do we move? How do we think? How do we approach what we're doing? And how do we keep doing it? Thank you for being here today. I appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow.